back to the Mineral Way. Discover the power of minerals and nutrients in supporting wellness and balancing your health routine. There's a better way. The Mineral Way.
You're listening to The Mineral Way. It is a beautiful afternoon here on the Central Coast, hopefully wherever you are as well. Every Monday, 5 o'clock Pacific time, Pharmacist Ben, Fuchs, and I answer your calls, answer your texts, answer your emails about health, wealth, and even what rhymes with health and wealth. Ben, come on, help me out here.
Stealth. That's all I can think of. I'm sorry. That's the best I can come up with.
All right, health, wealth, and stealth. That's what we're here for,
Yeah, that
Ben,
doesn't
I
seem
guess.
appropriate, though.
That's kind of weird, but yeah.
Is there any other? There's no other ones.
No,
That's
I don't
it.
know. Health, wealth, and self. How's that?
You know what? My girlfriend accused me of stealing her thesaurus, and I told her I was shocked, appalled, and dismayed.
I like it, Ben. That's the way to start off a show, dude, with a good
Thank you,
joke,
with a good joke.
intellectual joke.
Did
Yes.
you hear about the guy who evaporated?
No.
He's going to be missed.
I can't believe I'm laughing at that,
You're liking
Ben.
my jokes. You're not laughing at me. You're laughing with me, right?
A little bit of both, Ben. A little bit of both.
Right.
Well, Ben, it's good to have you here, Ben.
Yes.
I missed you last week, and that's too bad because Elizabeth had a question for you. But luckily, with my foresight and my professionalism, I wrote the question down, Ben, so I will ask for her.
With your foresight or with your foreskin?
Oh, no, Ben.
I'm just on a roll today. Oh,
Man,
my God.
you are. Yeah, geez. All right, let's go. Let's get
All right.
to it, Ben.
Yes.
Elizabeth called me, and she is a vegetarian. I'm just going to read this stuff off to you.
Yes.
She's a vegetarian.
I'm sorry?
She has macular degeneration. She wants to know what's causing that, and her doctor says that her eye is leaking fluid.
Yeah.
And she wants
Yeah.
to know how she can improve it, what she should take. She currently has been thinking about or is getting injections in the eye. Has had 3
Well, look.
and low blood pressure.
Okay, she's got low blood pressure, macular degeneration. What was the
Yes.
other thing?
And I think that's about it, Ben.
Okay. So what do you think in the phrase macular degeneration, what do you think the most important word is?
Degeneration.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's all it is.
Right.
You know, what is MBFA? Remember
My
MBFA?
body's falling apart.
That's it. Her body's falling apart, man. It doesn't matter, people, where it's falling apart. It matters that it's falling apart. And we have a medical model that likes to focus on individual parts. So if you have an eye problem, you go to an ophthalmologist. If you have a heart problem, you go to a cardiologist. If you have a skin problem, you go to a dermatologist. If you have a hormone problem, you go to an endocrinologist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's not how the body works, people. We have to get it through our heads. It's not how the body works. Now, you can't expect your doctor to know better because that's not how they work. They don't work that way. They work on the eye or the heart or the bone or the liver or the kidney or this or that or the other part of the body. That's not how the body works, and that in a nutshell accounts for the utter and complete failure that is the modern medical model when it comes to treating chronic degenerative disease. They try to treat individual parts. They can't see the forest for the trees. They're trying to treat the trees, but it's a forest problem. They're trying to treat the parts, but it's a system problem. Macular degeneration is about the macula, which is the center of the eye, where the pigments are, but that's not the problem. It's degenerative, and nobody just has one area degenerating in the body. That's why it's called MBFA, my body's falling apart disease. And that's why people with macular degeneration don't just have macular degeneration. It's a comorbidity, meaning it has other diseases, other pathologies associated with it. So you just got to build the body. This is good news. It means you build the body. This idea of focusing on the macula or focusing on the skin or focusing on the kidney or this part or that part, it disempowers us. I'm talking about focusing on the entire system. So for macular degeneration, now the eyes are slightly different in the sense that the eyes are subject to forces that are unique because they're looking into the sun. So that's a slightly different when you have the eyes, and I'll tell you what I mean by slightly different here in a second. But generally speaking, you're dealing with a degenerative condition, which means an inflammatory condition. Degeneration and inflammation need to be regarded as synonymous. You don't have degeneration without inflammation, chronic inflammation, and you don't have chronic inflammation without degeneration. Should I say that again? Because that's really important.
Please.
You don't have degeneration without chronic inflammation, and you don't have chronic inflammation without degeneration. They go together. And then chronic inflammation means that your immune system is chronically activated, because inflammation is the calling card, the visible manifestation of the immune system. So you don't have degeneration without chronic inflammation. You don't have chronic inflammation without immunity or immune activation. That's the key right there, is immune activation. Mm-hmm. What does immune activation mean? The defenses, the defense department, the defensive system has been alerted. And you know what? It's kind of metaphorical in a way, Dave. Look at all of our political problems. Aren't they about defense? Aren't they about offensive and defensive forces, if you will?
Yeah.
Our politics?
Yeah, in one way or another, yes.
Isn't our culture, our world problems, if you will, our world geopolitical problems, aren't they about defenses?
Yeah.
Everything is about defenses.
Sure.
Everything is about us versus them, and the body is like a country. It's us versus them. So then you say, how does the enemy, if you will, from our metaphor, get into the body? Well, the enemy, when we say, first of all, let me digress real quick. When we say into the body, we mean into the blood. That's what we're really talking about when we say into the body. We're not talking about into the skin. We're not talking about into the, into the nose. We're talking about into the blood.
Okay.
Okay? So how does the enemy get into the blood? Well, one way is you can inject it, and that's why a couple years ago when they told you to inject this thing that nobody ever heard of before, I said, you're crazy if you do it. I said it from day one. And I said any medical professional who has the temerity, the cojones, to tell their patients to inject things into their blood, it's very easy to get angry with them. I won't, because, forgive them, Lord, they know not what they do. We'll leave it at that. But for patients, you don't inject things into your blood unless you have no other option. But for most people, that's not the case. But ironically, or interestingly, not ironically, but interestingly, people who do inject drugs into their blood, illegal drugs, crack and meth and all that kind of stuff, they end up with the same kind of diseases that other people get. Parkinson's disease and autoimmune diseases. And do you ever see those pictures of where they show before meth and after meth?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So that's what happens when you inject things into your blood. You fall apart. But most of us aren't doing that. But what are most of us doing to get stuff into the blood? Food. Our food supply is completely corrupted. We eat for reasons that don't have anything to do with nourishment, and we really don't know how to eat. We don't have the understanding how to eat. So it makes perfect sense that we would have a food problem, which would lead to a blood problem, which would lead to immune problem, which would lead to inflammatory problem, which would lead to a degenerative problem. That makes perfect sense. So the first thing you do is you always patch up the leaky gut. And I know there's probably people out there rolling their eyes. There goes Pharmacist Ben again with his leaky gut and intestinal permeability, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. That's the cause, period. It's as simple as that. Now, there's nutrition that you can also use to build up the body. And that's really where longevity really shines, is in these nutrients that build up the body. You need nutrients to build up the body. And another digression here, I've actually done talks mostly overseas in Australia and New Zealand. And in those countries where they have free medicine, they really know nothing about supplements. If you think we don't know anything about supplements in this country, we're like supplement PhDs, supplement savants compared to what they know in Europe and in Canada and in New Zealand and in Australia, because they have free medicine. So they don't have to worry about supplements. They all take the drugs. So I was doing a talk in Australia, and I remember them asking, Ben, what exactly are vitamins for? What do vitamins do? And I was like kind of shocked for a minute there. But then I realized most people don't really know. The nutrients, or what we call the Mighty 90 essential nutrients, help the body use food. That's really the role of the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. They should be in the food. And how perfect is it in a perfect world where the food contains the nutrients that help you use the food? In a perfect world, that's what it would be. We'd eat in the Garden of Eden, and we'd pull stuff off. We'd just pick the berry off the bush, or the apple off the tree, or the carrot out of the ground, or whatever it is. And we would eat foods that had the nutrients in them that helped you process the foods. This is one of the reasons why lions and tigers and bears are carnivorous animals. They will eat living animals. They'll bite into the zebra while the zebra is still running away, because then you get the enzymes. And the enzymes help you digest the food. So what you want to do is you want to eat as fresh as possible. I'm not saying you want to bite into the cow while it's still alive, but you want to eat as fresh as possible to get the nutrients, and you want to eat foods that have as much or as unprocessed as possible to get the nutrients, but that's not going to happen. That's why supplementing is so important. So number one, you patch up the leaky gut. And there's many ways to do that. We talk about it all the time. I love the Fucoid Z, the I-26, collagen peptides, all of these, whey protein. All of these are great ways to build up, patch up the leaky gut. And then you work on the environment of the intestine. Lots of ways to do that as well. The nightly essence, the daily digest, ultimate microbiome. There's wonderful nutritional supplements for working on the intestine. And then you work on nutrients that help build the body, building nutrients. And there's a ton of those. MSM, the ultimate MSN sulfur, ultimate the CFX they call it, vitamin C CFX, the Healthy Star Pack, Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, lots of ways. This is all for this gal, by the way, with the macular degeneration, Lisa or Elizabeth. You notice I didn't say anything about the eyes here, right?
Right.
Have you heard me talk about the eye?
No.
I haven't even talked about the eyes yet, because one of the first principles in healing, in natural healing, is where you see the problem is not where the problem is.
Right.
Right? That's a first principle. Where you see the problem is not where the problem is. And so I haven't even talked about the eyes. I just talked about building the body. Now, the eyes, as I alluded to earlier, are a little, they're unique because the eyes are subject to ultraviolet forces from ultraviolet radiation that no other tissue in the body is. So with the eyes, there's some specific things that you want to do, and that's where the Occutive from Longevity comes in. That's where the Vision FX from Longevity comes in, and that's also where pigments, particularly yellows and reds, come in. So anything you could do to get yellow and red pigments, corn and squash and pumpkin and watermelon, all of these, and fish, salmon, really pink salmon, not fake pink salmon, but real pink salmon. All of these pigments go right into your eyes, and they protect, again, they strengthen the macula to protect it from ultraviolet radiation. And then if you want to throw on, do one other thing, Elizabeth, you should know, and everybody who has macular degeneration, or for that matter, glaucoma or any other eye problems, should know that blood sugar, dysglycemia, disturbances in blood sugar, dysglycemia, disturbances in blood sugar are always behind eye problems as much as leaky gut is. So working on the blood sugar is also important, and Longevity's got great blood sugar supplements there as well. So you notice I talk very little about the eyes, but I talk about the gut and I talk about the blood sugar system, first 2 points on the triangle of disease. And you know what, Dave, to me, that's such good news because it simplifies everything. Not only is Elizabeth, if she does everything we just said, not only is she going to improve her eye health, she's going to improve her joint health. She'll improve her bone health, her protect against osteoporosis. She'll protect herself against cancer and cardiovascular disease. If she goes to the eye doctor and he injects her eye, is he going to save her from getting cancer later on down the road? No. Is he going to save her from having heart disease later down the road? No. Is he going to save her from autoimmunity later down the road? No. He's going to just work on the eye. He's not even going to be able to fix the eye because you can't fix the eye without fixing the system.
Wow.
Isn't that I don't mean to proselytize or preach here, but this is so important because my people perish for lack of knowledge. We're suffering so much, and Dave, I see the suffering. I read about the suffering. You won't believe the letters I get. I'll read you some of these letters sometime. They're horrifying. They make you want to cry, and it's all because our numbskull medical model is, number one, not treating people correctly, and because of probably our numbskull education system isn't teaching people correctly. And so we're suffering. And so I see my job as to help people understand how this whole thing works. It's not complicated. Don't let them obfuscate. You like that word?
Yes,
obfuscate.
I love that word.
I love that word too. The church, I don't want to get into too much in religion here, but in the old days, they would tell you, don't worry about God. We got you covered. We'll talk to God for you. You do whatever you want to do. Just give us your house, 10% of your income, and we'll make sure that you're good with God, right? And then they would say it all in Latin. Dominus, Rubinis, Coloris, all the stuff that they would do in Latin. Nobody knew what the heck they were talking about. And that was a way of disempowering people. Guess what? That's what we do today with the medical model. Have you had a prescription lately? Have you gotten a prescription lately?
No, Ben.
Well, the next time you get a prescription, notice when you read it that you can't read it because it's in Latin. Why is your prescription written in Latin, do you think? Do you think your doctor talks Latin? No. No, he doesn't speak Latin. It's in Latin, so you won't understand it. So it'll sound like it's some kind of magical, mysterious magic spell of some kind. and that's what they want us to think. And I'm telling you here, this was Doc, by the way, Doc's message is to empower people. Doc was a blue-collar guy, I mean, he's well-educated, obviously, and he's well-read, brilliant, actually, but he's a farmer. He's a regular guy. And he wanted regular people to be healthy, too. And that's why, to this day, Dave, most of the people that love longevity, who really are in longevity, they're regular people, right? They're salt-of-the-earth people. They're not fancy schmancy PhDs and super wealthy, upper-class billionaires these days, or trillionaires even, whatever they are. They're just regular folks. And that's who we need to be speaking to. It's the regular folks, because it's the regular folks that are being disempowered and being subject to these horrible, horrible forces that hopefully is beginning to change. I've been very excited about some of the stuff they're doing in Washington, although I'm a little bit skeptical. I don't believe anybody anymore, but it looks like, some changes are being made.
Like what, Ben?
Like they took they shrunk the FDA, for one. They did some stuff with I think they kicked some people off the vaccine commission of some kind, and the new vaccine guy is talking about how they have to question the COVID vaccine. And this is the government saying this. I said it, I got kicked off of YouTube for saying the same thing they're saying now in the government in Washington.
Did you really?
Yeah, I got kicked off of YouTube.
Wow.
Right? I'm not the only one. A lot of people got kicked off of YouTube.
That's crazy. That is so unbelievable, Ben.
Right.
Anyways, our next question, Ben, is by text message, and again, 831-24.
Am I simplifying this?
Wait a minute.
Am I simplifying this?
Yeah, it's perfectly though, Ben. You're not dumbing it down too much. You did a very good job.
I want to simplify it. I want people to understand this.
831-218-5726 is the text line. 831-218-KSCO. This one says, "Hi Dave, can you ask Pharmacist Ben, thank you very much, about kidney stones? Okay. My doctor says that he might have kidney stones, so he's wondering what he can do about kidney stones." Ben,
there's few things that are more agonizing than kidney stones. You never had them, I assume.
No, I never have.
We have a mutual friend who shall remain nameless, me and you, and I went to a conference with him a few years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, and middle of the night, and we shared a hotel room. Middle of the night, it was a suite, it was, big hotel thing.
Okay.
And middle of the night, I hear from the other room this screaming, this agonizing screaming. And I was like, what the heck? And I go in there, and my buddy is like curled up, and he is just in utter and complete agony. I can't describe it adequately to draw a picture of the suffering that this guy was not only going through, but was articulating and manifesting through his screams and his moans. It was so awful. It was so awful. He was having a kidney stone. He was trying to pass a kidney stone. The kidneys are made up of very, 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 very tiny vessels, like microscopically thin vessels. Okay. And a kidney stone is small, but it ain't that small, and it's sharp, like needles.
Dang.
Yes, exactly. Jeez. Exactly. And it gets stuck in there. And the reason why people get stones, and kidney stones are one kind of stone, but you can get tear duct stones, you can get bladder stones, you can get gallstones. There's stone formation is a thing. So the question is, what causes the stones to form? And that's what you want to address. So picture this in your mind's eye.
Okay.
You got a cup of water, right?
Okay. All
you
right.
take a teaspoon of salt, and you put it in the water. What happens to the salt? Disappears, right?
Yeah, it dissolves.
Dissolves, which is kind of cool when you think about it, because really it just disappears. It goes into the water somehow. You put another spoonful of salt into the water. What happens? Disappears. It goes in. Put a third, same thing. Put a fourth, maybe the same thing. But you put a fifth, and all of a sudden something happens. You'll get a bunch of salt coming out. That's called precipitation. Can you picture that? All of a sudden, all the salt will precipitate out. And that's because the water is said to be saturated with salt. In fact, it's not said to be saturated, it's said to be super saturated. Saturated is when it's maxed out. Super saturated is when it can't handle anymore and it comes out. So the water is said to be super saturated. And when liquids are super saturated with solids, the solids precipitate out. That's a stone. What is the liquid? The blood. When the blood becomes saturated or supersaturated, with solid material, and when the chemistry of the blood, particularly the pH, but there's other factors that are involved too, the pH of the blood is thrown off with acid, it wreaks havoc on the blood's ability to dissolve solids, and stones start to form. What I'm telling you here is kidney stones or gallstones or bladder stones or tear duct stones or any other kind of stones, salivary stones, any kind of stones are a sign of supersaturated blood, what I call dirty blood. And we talked about leaky gut as being the source of all disease, but then we said that it's the blood that's the sacred space. So it's the blood that becomes toxic that lead to disease, and it's no accident, or it's no coincidence, I should say, that kidney stones are also related to the blood. You've got to clean the blood if you're having any kind of stones. The most important thing to clean the blood of, especially for kidney stones, is sugar. Sugar is one of the major saturating elements in blood. And sugar is one of the major reasons why stones form, blood sugar. And that's why my friend who is our mutual friend who is dealing with kidney issues, he's notorious for having blood sugar problems. You know who I'm talking about, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Right?
I think I do. Is
Right?
it the same guy that brought his stones into the studio to do
Probably.
a radio
Yes,
show with them?
That sounds like something he would do. I didn't know that, but that does
Oh, he
sound.
was showing them to everybody.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing that he doesn't have colon problems because he'd be showing that off too. You know, if I know, it seems like something he would do.
Ben, we got to take a break. Let's pause right here. It seems like a good place to take a break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Keep it tuned in. This is The Mineral Way. Your phone calls, your text messages, your emails are welcome. We'll be right back. Looking for a better way to take charge of your health and maybe even your income? Then listen up, because themineralway.com is your one-stop destination for world-class longevity products and a powerful business opportunity. At themineralway.com, you can order the same high-quality supplements featured on the Mineral Way podcast, trusted by thousands and shipped to customers across the U.S. and other countries around the world. And these aren't just any products. They're designed to support energy, clarity, mobility, all the things that help you live better, feel better, and stay active no matter your age. But here's where it gets really exciting. You can also become a distributor. When you enroll through themineralway.com, your sponsors, also known as your upline, are none other than Pharmacist Ben Fuchs and me, Dave Michaels. That means you're not on your own. You'll get expert training, a full library of support materials, and your very own professional website all ready to go. You can run your entire business from your home computer, smartphone, or landline. No employees, no building to rent, no overhead, just you helping others, building a business, and creating a future. And if you're the kind of person who listens to the show, you already get it. You care about your health, you care about people. That makes you the perfect candidate to start your own business. Imagine setting your own hours, working with a team that wants to see you succeed, and waking up each day knowing that you're making a difference for yourself and for others. Plus, you can go at your own pace. Whether you want to earn a little extra on the side or go full time, you're in control. No pressure, just real support and real opportunity. And here's the kicker. It's your business. You can pass it on to a family member or even sell it down the road. So whether you're looking to improve your health, build something meaningful, or add new income stream, it's all waiting for you. There is a better way. themineralway.com. That's themineralway.com. Check it out today. 479-1080, 831, the area code 218-5726 with your text messages. That's 218-KSCO. What's my email address, Ben? kscodave@gmail.com. Your questions are welcomed, and we will answer them right here. We are live on the air every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific time if you want to call in then. But again, you can also go to davemichaels.com or send a text whenever you want, and we will answer them during the next show. So, Pharmacist Ben, we have a question from Craig in Campbell. Are you ready? Oh, let's try that again, Ben. Are you ready?
I'm here.
Okay, let's do it. Craig, you're in the air.
Yeah, hi there. Before the question, so what was the rest of the story when he had the kidney stone? What happened?
He had to go. He ended up going to the hospital, and that,
Okay.
and that, he had to have him removed surgically. It was terrible.
Man.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It's the most agonizing thing you can imagine. I think they said it's like the most next to delivering a baby. It's the most agonizing thing that can happen to a person.
I've heard something about when you get these stones, you can drink a concoction of olive oil.
No, that's gallstones. That's a little different, and that's not the stones that are caught in the duct. In the gallbladder is like a bag of bile, and stones can form in the bladder, but the real pain comes is when you try to pass them. When they go through the ducts. That's where the pain happens, and there's no drink that'll help there. You can definitely do the olive oil thing, and I don't know how well it works. Dr. Ariaza at Longevity has a product called the Liver Cleanse, and that works pretty well. I'm not sure what it'll do specifically for the stones, but it works really well for cleaning out the bile. Bile is another whole interesting fluid that is an extension. All the fluids are extensions of the blood in a way. And then bile is one of the most fascinating. Bile is the body's detox fluid. It helps clean the body out, but it also is responsible for helping eliminate not just toxins, but also hormones. And also, it's a way that the body eliminates cholesterol. Without a gallbladder, by the way, people, you're in big trouble. Bile also is important for digesting fats, helping the body digest and absorb fats. Without a gallbladder, you're in big, big trouble. And everybody who has got their gallbladder should keep it. Don't let anybody take it unless you have cancer and you don't have a choice. But just because you have gallstones, that's not a reason to take it out.
Yeah, Ben, if you had, with that person had the kidney stone, would you would have gone, well, you would have done the same thing? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing you do.
Either that or you die. Is that it?
Well, you might not die, but you wish you would. You wish you'd be dead. I don't know if it'll kill you necessarily, but it might, I suppose. But it's not.
Well,
yeah.
Could you like get through it without going through the surgery?
Eventually they'll pass. Eventually, I think they will pass. But it depends on how big they are. Eventually, they'll pass. And they can also, for stones like gallbladder stones and kidney stones, actually all stones, they can do sound wave. They have these what are they called? Ultrasound machines that they can use, and they can kind of like shoot sound at the stone and can dissolve the stone.
Was that what that took care of the problem?
That might have taken care of him, but I think his was big. I think he had I'm pretty sure he had a surgical. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I think he had surgery.
Okay, I got you now. Cancer. Man, it seems so epidemic. Like, I know so many people had cancer, have cancer. It's just amazing. Even dogs, and I think they're big part of it. Dogs, pets are over vaccinated. A lot of good money, easy money in vaccination, and that's my point. Here's my theory, and I'm sure a lot of other people share. The reason why it's so epidemic, I mean, it's not the reason why everybody has cancer, of course. It's because of those the COVID jabs, and it screws up the chemistry of the body and the immune system, and I believe that's why there's so many more people that have. If that didn't go on, I think you'd hear about it. What do you think, anyway?
Oh, it's a whole bunch of stuff. That's definitely part of it. It's the food, probably, is the biggest thing. Look what cats and dogs are eating. Lions don't get cancer. Giraffes don't get cancer. Elephants in the wild, they don't get cancer. In zoos, they might. But in the wild, cancer doesn't really happen. It happens occasionally, but it's not a big thing. But domestic cats and dogs, they get cancer all the time, and obviously people do. It's our toxic lifestyle. But you know what? Here's another very important point. I'm glad you brought this up, Craig.
But Ben, the last few years, man, it's kind of gone the way when the COVID shot came on. I'm just hearing of just the last few years.
It's gotten worse?
It's just like exploded, and I think the ace in the hole is that COVID shot.
People like myself were talking about that. We warned everybody. We said, you can't do it. You're going to run into problems. And, all-cause mortality, that's up. I think it's up. It was for a couple of years anyway. I don't know if it still is. It was up dramatically. All-cause mortality after that injection. And, look, you don't put things in your blood unless you have no other option. You don't inject things in through the blood. You just don't do it. And it's one thing for it's one thing for a layperson to not know, but for a doctor, for a medical professional, for a healthcare professional to tell you to do it, to like sign off on that, that's messed up. That's really messed up. It's
always money.
Well, there's an element of stupidity there too, but there's a chauvinism, this idea that Craig, you're a dummy. What do you know, Craig? You're not a doctor. You don't know anything. Ben, I've had people say to me, you're just a pharmacist. You don't know anything. That my doctor told me, and who are you? You're a pharmacist. Craig, who are you? You don't know what you're talking about. There's this kind of chauvinism where we're told that we're stupid and that we need to trust authorities. Trust the authorities. I'll give you a clue, by the way. Not one scientist on the planet has ever said, trust the science. If you ever hear a knucklehead say, trust the science, they don't know anything about science. Because no scientist ever says, trust the science. Right? Yeah. And that's what we heard, trust the science. And you still hear knuckleheads talking about that, trust the science.
Fauci, yeah.
That little reptile, man. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I got one more thing. I don't know if there's a lot of people waiting. Maybe I should go. But the stem cell, I heard Jim Gabbard on a couple of weeks ago at Mike MZ. And he said, at the end of the show, he just brought out of the blue how he went to Munich, Germany, and got stem cell surgery for a hip joint where other people would get their. Did you hear that?
I haven't heard. I didn't hear that, but I know about using stem cells for prosthetics, for helping support prosthetic surgeries, surgical knee replacement, hip replacement, that kind of thing. And that stem cells are interesting. The problem with stem cells is it's not just the stem cell, it's the niche that the stem cell is in, the environment. So the stem cell itself has to be in a healthy environment for it to do its business. So it's not just the stem cell, just like you were talking about, you didn't get to ask me about cancer, but cancer is the same thing. Now they have this thing called immunotherapy, which sounds great. You use the body's immune system to get rid of the cancer, but the problem is it's the terrain, the environment that the cancer is in, or the stem cell is in. And it's just kind of like a seed. You might have the best seeds ever, but if you throw them on a rocky ground, it's not going to grow. Or if you throw them in a really good ground that has lots of nutrition and lots of minerals and all the things that seeds need to grow, then it'll grow. It's the soil. And that's what we want to focus on. We're told to focus on the seed, but the soil is the main determining factor of the seed. You know who said that, by the way? Albert Einstein said that. He said the field is the determining factor for the particle. And that's the same idea. The field controls the particle and the soil controls the seed. And that's how, and by the way, this is a battle that's been going on for a couple hundred years now, since the days of Louis Pasteur. Did you ever hear the story, Dave, about Louis Pasteur?
No.
Louis Pasteur was the guy we get the term pasteurization, like pasteurized milk from him. Louis Pasteur was a beer maker. He made beer in, I think, France in the 19th century, and he noticed that there were living creatures that were responsible for making the beer. And that he came up with this idea that living creatures were responsible for creating changes in the body. He called them germs, and we call this germ theory. And his idea was that these germs, the same things that are in the beer that turn sugar into alcohol or turn grain into alcohol, those same little creatures were responsible for disease. He called it germ theory. But he had a colleague in France who was named Claude Bouchamp. And Claude Bouchamp said, no, Louis Pasteur, it's not the germs. Yeah, there's germs there, but it's the terrain that the germ is in. Yes, the germ is involved, but it can't do anything unless it has the right environment. Doesn't this make sense when you think about it? Well, it turns out that, as you know, Louis Pasteur won this battle, and today we focus on the germ. But to his credit, on his deathbed, Louis Pasteur famously said, Bouchamp was right. This is on his deathbed, he said this. At least according to myth. Bouchamp was right. It is the terrain. And indeed, if you just use your logic, like I said, a seed can't grow unless the soil's appropriate. And so that's true about cancer. That's true about stem cells. That's true about viruses. That's true about so-called germs, if you will. We don't hear that anymore. When you were a kid, did people talk about germs?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, there's germs.
Cooties.
Cooties, cooties and germs. There's always a bad guy, a boogeyman.
Right.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you for the call, Craig. 831-479-1080. Here's a text message, Ben. It was sent to my text line, 218-KSEO. It says, let me see if I can you ask Ben if giving blood helps clean up the blood?
No, it won't help clean up the blood necessarily, but it could help you get rid of certain things that accumulate, like iron. That could be a problem. But you're not going to necessarily, it won't hurt, put it that way. I don't know if you're going to, you obviously you'll get rid of some of the stuff, but I don't know if it'll be significant enough. But yeah, you'll get rid of some of it for sure, obviously. But you'll be putting it in the blood supply. Some other lucky winner is going to get your crap. That's in your blood.
That's what I was thinking too. And what do I know, Ben? But that's.
But they used to just bleed you. Did you ever see that Saturday Night Live where they talk about bleeding? If you haven't, you should YouTube it. It's called Theodoric of York.
No.
You should YouTube Saturday Night Live Theodoric of York.
What? How do you spell it? Theodoric.
Theodoric. Theodoric. Theodoric. It was a medieval name, Theodoric of York, and it's hysterical. It's about the medical model. It's absolutely hysterical. Theodoric of York.
Steve Martin?
Steve Martin, yeah.
Oh man, that's going to be fun.
You got to watch it. Watch it during the break and tell me.
Okay, so here's a question, Ben. I see, where is it? Oh, this old question. My joints are getting stiffer and I'm not that old. Can you ask Ben if there is something I should be adding to my daily routine?
Ultimate EFA. It's a lot of stuff, but that would be the first thing, is Ultimate EFA.
Uh-huh.
And I'd be taking 9 to 12 capsules a day to start.
Wow.
That's like WD-40 for your joints.
Wow.
Ultimate EFA. There's more, but that's the most important. That's what stands out the most.
What else would you add to that, Ben?
Healthy bone and joint pack.
Mm-hmm.
Glucogel caps. Mm-hmm. Fucoid Z. Fucoid Z is a miracle product, by the way. Fucoid Z, Ultimate MSM. You want the whole list? There's tons of them. CFX, hyaluronic acid, or I don't know if we have any straight hyaluronic acid. Bone broth, but hyaluronic acid, if you could find, would be great. Bone broth. Cartilage. You can get cartilage capsules or cartilage powder. Dolomite. There's so many different things.
What if somebody has a condition where it's bone on bone? There's no more cartilage, or there's
the thing about the cartilage is it's very hard to get nutrition to the cartilage because there's not a lot of blood there. The cartilage is not really it doesn't have a lot of vascularity. So it's tough to get nutrition directly to the cartilage. And once you have bone on bone, you're in big trouble. However, you got to do what you could do. And unless you want to have surgery done where they can probably insert some kind of artificial joint in there, you really want to be doing the good. The joints are very susceptible to bad things too. So you want to be doing the good things, but you also want to be avoiding the bad things. The good things are all things we just talked about. I didn't mention protein, but that's also very, very important, protein. And also exercise is important, believe it or not, even though you don't feel like exercising. That's important. Stretching is important. You generate electrical charges when you stretch. You actually electrify and animate the tissues, the cells, when you do stretching exercises. So stretching is one of the most important things an older person can ever do, even a younger person, but especially an older person. And everybody out there over the age of 60 should be stretching at least once every couple of days, ideally like once or twice a day, but at least every couple of days. Some people haven't stretched, for decades, and everything gets crunched up, and that's one of the ways that we age. We shrivel. And one of the reasons we shrivel is because our body is contracting. Stretching stretches, it opens everything up, it expands everything. And so stretching is also very important, and exercise is very important. And then there's the things that you want to avoid, and that's sugar. Sugar toasts your joints. Take a nice, beautiful piece of white toast or white bread, and look how white and delicious and clean it looks, and stick it in a toaster. And what happens when it comes out of the toaster? It's brown, or even black, and it's crunchy and crispy, and it doesn't have a like a give to it. It crackles, it breaks, right? Mm-hmm. We call that toast, right? Well, that's exactly what happens to our bodies as we age. When we eat sugar, we toast. Toasting is a chemical reaction between heat from the toaster and sugar in the bread, which is the grain. It's not necessarily straight sugar, but it's the grain. Sometimes it is straight sugar. And then the protein in the grain. Between the protein, the sugar, and the heat, you get a chemical reaction called glycation, which is toasting. Same thing happens to our body. Same things happens to our cartilage when we when we have bone on bone or we have arthritis. And by the way, Doc, before he was the mineral doc, he was the connective tissue doc, the cartilage doc. Do you know what his first product was, Dave?
The pig arthritis pack.
You got it. That's exactly right. It was the pig arthritis pack or the pig pack. And he knew that about the importance of using these kinds of cartilage building substances, which are found in pigs and in cows and in the parts of the animals that people don't want to eat, like the tails and the hooves and the snouts. Do you ever have pig snout?
And hot dogs, probably, Ben. I've heard there's
yes.
chicken.
Did you ever have a barbecued pig where they do the whole pig?
Yes.
So, that's kind of interesting, right? But they do, the head. They call it head cheese. All the head stuff. Do you ever eat that?
That's nasty.
That's pretty nasty.
It is nasty.
I don't even eat pig. I think that's nasty.
I don't eat head cheese. That's nasty, man. That's gross. 218-5726, Ben, kscodave@gmail.com. Here's an email.
Yeah.
This one says, I'm taking vitamins from the drugstore. That's not really written out well. I don't notice a difference. What should I be looking for? What's the difference between vitamins and minerals?
Oh, my God. That's a big question. What's the difference between vitamins and minerals?
Uh-huh.
Well, it's like apples and oranges, first of all. They're two different things, but I think she means functionally maybe what they do.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what they mean.
Functionally, they're very interesting. Minerals have two major roles. There's the minerals that help build the body. That's, there's not a lot of them do that. There's a handful of those. Well, I shouldn't say. There's probably a few that have a role in building the body. But the main ones are calcium, magnesium, phosphorus. Those are probably the big three, I would say. Carbon, of course. That's the mineral. And by the way, when we say this is really important. What I'm going to say now, Dave, you should listen to this,
okay?
Because nobody ever talks about this. Minerals are not minerals. We call them minerals colloquially. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just part of the language, but that's not accurate. The minerals are elements. See the difference? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you understand the distinction I'm making here?
Explain it to me.
Okay, I'll explain. You ever seen the periodic table, right?
Yes.
Okay. Each one of those boxes contains an element in the periodic table, right? Boron is the first element. Carbon, nitrogen. Helium hydrogen is the first element, and then helium, and then boron, and then carbon, etc. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Each one of those is an element, or you could say an atom. They're the same. Those are synonyms. An element or an atom. Okay? Mm-hmm. A mineral is a bunch of them smushed together. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm following.
When you smush a bunch of these elements together, you get a mineral. Okay? Now, there's different ways to smush things. One way you can smush things is by geological forces over the course of billions of years. And these geological forces compress them. They force them together. Another way they can get smushed is in plants. And in plants, these substances get smushed via plant chemistry. And how plants do it? In pharmacy school, we used to have this thing where the pharmacy professor, when nobody understood how something happened, the pharmacy professor would go to the blackboard. He'd go, OGK. He'd write on there, OGK. Only God knows. And that's exactly how these things work. So somehow plants have an ability to do that. We call those colloidal minerals. A colloidal mineral is a mineral that has been smushed together with proteins and various organic substances that a plant makes. Minerals that are in the dirt, in the earth, those are smushed by geological forces. The point I'm making is, which do you think? Imagine you're on a subway. I don't know if you've ever been on a subway. Imagine you're on a train, right?
Okay.
You ever been on a train or a bus or subway, and you're smushed together with a bunch of people?
Oh,
and you can't move.
They smell.
They smell a little bit, yes. Yeah. And they're sweaty, and they're gross. Stinky, and there's some guy groping you probably. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know about that. But the point is you can't move, right? Uh-huh. You can't move if you're smushed together. But when everybody gets off the bus or the train or the subway and you're the only one there, now you have room to move. That's the difference between a rock and an element. An element or an atom can move around. A rock can't. Rocks are useless. Unless they're colloidal rocks or colloidal minerals. A rock is a bunch of minerals stuck together. But unless it's colloidal, it's useless to us. The point I'm making here is minerals have two places they play a part in the body. One is in the structure, And that's really minerals. Those are true minerals. Those are like minerals in the dirt, bone, teeth. Those are your minerals. But most of them are elements, atoms, iron, and the active ones are the active elements are in the middle of the periodic table. They call them transition elements. And the word transition means they move. They transit. Transitions transit. They move. And they call them transition elements. And these ones that move, those act like on-off switches. And I'm being very simplistic here. If there's any biochemists out there, I'm being simplistic for a reason. They act like on-off switches. Even though that's simplistic, that's actually accurate. They turn things on and off. And check this out. This is the coolest thing. What makes copper different from zinc, different from silver or iron or cadmium or any of the other ones, you ready for this?
Yep.
The frequency. You know what's your frequency over there at KSCO?
1080 AM.
1080. That's a frequency, right?
Yes.
1080 hertz. Or is it kilohertz probably, right? 1080
yes,
kilohertz.
Yes.
Is this your wheelhouse here? Do you
not really, Ben. I mean, I know the
Billy
very
would
basics.
Know. One of your, Richard B. Luther, the late Richard B.
Yeah.
Luther would know.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sorry about that. That was sad news. They're all different frequencies, and the body is designed to turn things on and off depending on the frequency. So that nickel will turn things on and off that are specifically tuned to its frequency. Same with copper, same with nickel, same with zinc. So the point being, they turn chemistry on and off. The other kind is the minerals that form the structure of the body, or the elements that form the structure of the body. Those are like minerals, the teeth and the bones. The other ones are on-off switches. Vitamins, on the other hand, are different too. The typical vitamin, which is the B complex, and vitamin C, not even vitamin C, just say the B complex, which is the typical vitamin. There's 8 different ones. They carry energy. So that when you eat a food, and that food has to ultimately get turned into energy, or become part of your body, one or the other, that process requires steps where the energy comes off of the food. The energy's in the food, right? It gets turned into energy in the body in steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It doesn't just happen all at once. It's not like the energy just gets released from the food. The digestive process and the metabolic process after you digest it in the blood is all about steps where energy gets reduced and reduced and reduced into a tinier and tinier form. And the B vitamins carry that energy. That's their job. They're energy carriers. Vitamin C is unspeakably valuable and very multifunctional, so it's hard to say what that one does, but it does a lot of things, including turns on the production of connective tissue, collagen, and it's involved in activating the immune system, and it's important for protecting cells. I mean, there's so many different things it does. And then there are, that's the C and B, and then there are 4 fatty vitamins, D, E, A, K, DEEK. D and A are actually hormones, and that means they have an ability, not that, I should say that means, but they have an ability to turn your genes on and off. That's what makes them so important. You know how vitamin D, have you been reading about, I don't know if you've been reading or hearing about how vitamin D, more and more, they're seeing how it's important for the immune system, for the blood system, and for the digestive system. And it's important for so many different things now, we're recognizing. And that's because vitamin D has an ability to manipulate genetics. Has a genetic, it actually goes into genes. It works with the genetics. Same with vitamin A. Vitamin D is particularly involved with the body's main turn on. I just said how the elements turn things on, turn things on and off. Do you know what element is the most important activator, on switch, if you will?
No, I don't.
Calcium. Calcium, that's really, everybody thinks of calcium in the bones, and it's true, most of the calcium in the body is in the bones, but the calcium that's in the blood is a major on-off switch, and it's controlled by vitamin D. So vitamin D is stupendously valuable, singularly different than any other nutrient because of its ability to help the body utilize calcium, and also because it's epigenetic factor like vitamin A. And then vitamin K is very important also for calcium. Calcium blood clotting, which involves calcium, wound healing, which involves calcium, and then vitamin E is the weirdest vitamin. Did you ever hear that? It said it's the strangest vitamin, vitamin E. Why? Because vitamin E doesn't get integrated into the body. Vitamin E protects the body. It's a guardian, and it specifically protects the fatty part of the body, like fats. And that's why in nature, wherever you have oil, you'll always have vitamin E. You know what the richest source of vitamin E is? Richest natural source of vitamin E is sunflower oil.
Oh, God, I thought you were going to say eggplant. I was going to lose my
eggplant.
mind, Ben.
Why? Because it starts with an E?
Oh, eggplant is disgusting, the most vile stuff ever put on earth, Ben.
I'm not a fan of eggplant either. I don't know.
terrible.
I don't understand how people can eat that. I don't know if it's as vile. That's pretty extreme.
It is
I don't know
vile.
if I'd say that, but I don't eat it. I'll tell you, I don't like it. It's a textural thing.
Yeah, if you ever see anybody if I ever see anybody eating eggplant, Ben, I automatically lose, just that much respect for them.
Is that right?
Yeah, I just think
you
man,
judge people by whether or not they eat eggplant.
I think you kiss your mom with that mouth. That's disgusting, dude.
I don't. I'm glad. So just to be clear, so you know who I am. I don't like eggplant either. Okay. I just want to be clear. Okay,
Ben,
I'm not an eggplant eater. I'm not one of those nasty eggplant eaters.
We lost a caller, but he wanted to know about headaches. I don't think we're going to have enough time.
We're not
going to
have time, but I will. There's one more thing I want to tell you.
Okay.
I asked my girlfriend when her birthday was. She said March 1st. So I walked around the room and asked again.
Oh, Ben, you're full of jokes, dude.
I know.
We got to take you on our next comedy tour.
When are we? Or do you do comedy?
Yeah, dude. I told
Stand-up?
you I'm going to go do a comedy tour at one of the old folks' homes, and then after that, I'm going to go out to the.
Yeah, but that's cheating. They can't hear. You can say well, anything.
What do you mean they can't hear?
They're old folks. They can't hear in the nursing home. That's
Well,
cheating. Do you ever go? Can you really? Are you a funny guy? Can you tell jokes?
I could tell a joke or two. Yeah.
Can you write jokes?
Oh yeah, I can write jokes much better than I can tell them.
That's a skill. I'm always impressed. I'm very impressed by people who can write jokes.
Oh yeah.
Who's your
Mostly
favorite
They're
comedian?
mostly just based on life. My favorite comedian? I don't really have one.
Stand up?
No, I don't really have one.
Really?
I do like to watch Kill Tony. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but I like to watch that.
Is he a comedian?
He puts on a show in which he offers people 1 minute to get up on stage and tell whatever jokes they want.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what it is, how bad it is, how offensive it is. It's just comedy. It is fantastic, man.
I should go on that.
Yeah, you should. I don't know if they'll boo you.
I
off
can't
stage
write
or
jokes though. I just have to, have people tell me and then I repeat them.
Well, tell
But I
him
know
that
a
one
couple
about
good
the guy
ones.
who got evaporated and he'll be missed.
You like that? He'll be missed.
that was ridiculous, Ben. We got to get out of here, Ben. No more jokes. No more time for jokes. We're
All right,
up
good
against
to
the clock.
talk to you next week.
All right, Ben. Sounds good. You're listening to The Mineral Way. And again, listen up because we're going to tell you how you can order your products. Any of the products that you heard Ben and I talk about, we will be mentioning that coming up in just a few seconds. Again, Pharmacist Ben and I will answer your questions live Monday afternoon, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Emails, text messages, phone calls, 831-479-1080 with your phone call, 218-5726 with your text messages, kseodave@gmail.com, and you can always leave questions at themineralway.com. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.
The next disaster is coming. Make a plan. Keep extra medication on hand. Make copies of important documents. Stay informed and be ready. Learn more at americares.org/sendusin.
What if improving your health could also improve your income? At themineralway.com, you can launch your own home-based business, something real, flexible, and proven. When you enroll, you're not just getting amazing health products. You're starting a business you can run from your computer, smartphone, or even your landline. And yes, that means you can finally take advantage of the tax deductions available to business owners. That's right, your health, your income, and your taxes can all start working for you. You'll get your own personalized website, access to exclusive training materials, and private conference and video calls with health expert Ben Fuchs, a pharmacist who's helped thousands transform their lives with his no-nonsense approach to nutrition. There's no inventory to keep, no high-pressure sales tactics, just powerful products, a clear path, and the tools you need to succeed. Work part-time, full-time, or just in between. You set the schedule. You decide how far you want to take it, and you won't be doing this alone. At themineralway.com, we give you the education, support, and encouragement to build something that matters to you and the people you help. So if you're ready to feel better, earn better, and live better, go to themineralway.com right now or call 831-218-5726. That's themineralway.com or 831-218-5726. 26. Better health, smarter income, the Mineral Way to a better life.